Good morning from New York. It has been over a year since I had the debate with Richard Dawkins in Pueblo, Mexico, the debate that was called Dangerous Ideas. And I saw on YouTube now that it has generated over 340,000 views and contentious arguments on both sides of the debate. The materialistic side using quite inappropriate, abusive language. Some of them, using words like "you moron," "you should kill yourself," "idiot," etc. It seems to be a particular trait of militant atheists to use that kind of language and a lot of anger, etc. But in any case, I thought I should update you on the debate since there's so much controversy around, the ideas that Richard Dawkins and I debate about. So the first thing I want to say is that Richard got very upset with me when I quoted Freeman Dyson as saying that atoms even have some form of sentience. And I was quoting Freeman Dyson, who, as you know, is, or if you don't, he's a fellow of the Royal Society. He spent his life discussing physics and being a professor at Princeton University. And he is very well known. He's a fellow of the American Physical Society. He is a fellow of the Royal Society of London. Professor Dyson is a very distinguished physicist at Princeton University, has been all his life, originally from England. And the book I was quoting was this, Freeman Dyson, Infinite in All Directions. And I was actually using this paragraph to make my statements, or I was referring to this paragraph, which basically, where Professor Dyson says, the universe shows existence of the operations of mind on three levels. The first level is the level of elementary physical processes in quantum mechanics. Matter in quantum mechanics is not an inert substance, but an active agent constantly making choices between alternative possibilities according to probabilistic laws. Every quantum experiment forces nature to make choices. It appears that mind as manifested by the capacity to make choices is to some extent inherent in every electron. The second level at which we detect the operations of mind is the level of direct human experience. Our brains appear to be devices for the amplification of the mental component of the quantum choices made by molecules inside our heads. We are the second big step in the development of mind. And now comes the argument from design. There's evidence from peculiar features of the laws of nature that the universe as a whole is hospitable to the growth of mind. The argument here is merely an extension of the anthropic principle up to a universal scale. Therefore, it is reasonable to believe in the existence of a third level of mind, a mental component of the universe. If we believe in this mental component and call it God, then we can say that we are all small pieces of God's mental apparatus. So, of course, Richard refused to believe me, and he, in fact, screamed at me and said, Dyson should sue you. I wrote subsequently to Dyson, to Freeman Dyson, and said, Dr. Dawkins suggests you sue me. And he said, of course, I have no intention of suing you. And three things have puzzled me all my life. The unpredictable movement of atoms. Notice he didn't say random. He said unpredictable. Random is an assumption. Unpredictable says we don't know. Unpredictable could even be creative. He said the unpredictable movement of atoms is the first thing that has puzzled me all my life, fascinated me. The second is our own consciousness. And the third, a universe that's fine-tuned for life and mind, or is friendly to mind and life. said, I do not know the answers to these conundrums, but I have a feeling they're all related. So anyway, I sent the email to Richard Dawkins, who promptly ignored it. Since then, I have learned that Richard Dawkins was paid a large sum of money to do the debate because previously he had refused to do the debate, saying that he did not want to give credibility to a charlatan like Deepak Chopra. In fact, when I was writing my book with Leonard Malodno, War of the Worldviews, he wrote to Leonard to express his dismay at collaborating with a charlatan. He even called Stephen Hawking's daughter to call Leonard to not collaborate with me because, Leonard had previously collaborated with Stephen Hawking on his book, Grand Design. Leonard, of course, did collaborate and did respond, saying, I think he said he did not want to be dissuaded, and that, in fact, he and I had become friends, and we still disagree, but we're extremely good friends. So Leonard is a real scientist, and, with a professorship at Caltech, and he's not out to be a polemicist as Dawkins has tried to become one. And since then, of course, Dawkins has produced a film with Lawrence Krauss, The Unbelievers, which is more about their fan base than about any rational argument regarding the existence or the non-existence of God. I think Dawkins basically doesn't understand consciousness, and when he doesn't understand something, particularly from me, he accuses me of willful obscurantism, which sounds very impressive coming from a Oxford professor with a British accent. But I honestly feel he's intellectually challenged when it comes to the understanding of consciousness. He's never really thought about it. He believes that molecules and electrochemical interactions in the brain produce consciousness, including our ability to think, imagine, intend. He doesn't believe in free will either. So he has quite a lot of problems in his understanding of consciousness. And what he calls rationality is the common sense of a sensory-based intellect. We now know that our senses only deliver a small fraction of reality to us, and by the time information gets into the brain, it's been edited many times, that the conditioned mind actually edits everything that it doesn't believe in. And furthermore, we actually have no idea how photons hitting the retina create the experience of a three-dimensional reality that's evolving in time. In fact, the whole bottoms-up approach to understanding consciousness seems doomed. There are a number of physicists and scientists who now believe that the hard problem of consciousness, trying to explain consciousness through physical interactions, may be totally unsolvable, and that the ontology that assumes matter as fundamental is wrong to begin with, or may not ever answer the problem of how consciousness is produced. And there are a number of other physicists and scientists who suggest that consciousness is a fundamental property of the universe, as fundamental as space or time or gravity. And of course, the Eastern wisdom traditions that maintain that consciousness is the only fundamental reality and everything else is a phenomenon, that our ground state is that of awareness and its existence, awareness, and being. And this then differentiates into everything that we experience as space-time, energy, information, and matter. it's very, very interesting that, everybody presumes that the brain is where we experience reality, but the brain is only showing neural correlates of consciousness. Certainly, neural networks get activated in the brain when you have the experience of a three-dimensional reality. But the activation of neural networks is not the experience of the world. Right now, as you're looking at me through this screen, and you're looking at those statues in the background and the chandelier and the lights, where is that experience happening? As I look out of my window here in New York City, I see the New York landscape and the skyline. How does New York fit inside my brain? Obviously, the experience is not inside my brain. There is neural activation inside my brain, which is a totally different matter. So many people actually suggest that that a brain is an instrument through which our awareness streams out through selective acts of attention and intention to create the three-dimensional experience of the world. These are very interesting ideas, and they kind of suggest to me anyway that Richard Dawkins and his now new collaborator Lawrence Krauss have naive ideas about physical reality, something called naive realism, which means that they believe that sensory experience of the world is the real reality. And they also have naive ideas about God. They think of a mythical entity as God and are not trying to understand consciousness as fundamental reality. So, I've always felt that their anger and their militancy is actually doing disservice to science and to even their version of atheism. The way you get rid of an old model, which I believe we need to, our ideas about God and reality are both naive. The way you get rid of an old model or a paradigm is not by attacking it, you just create more resistance. The way you get rid of an old paradigm or an old model is by replacing it with a new model through a deeper understanding of reality. So I think we're at that stage, and I challenge once again Richard and his colleagues to explain consciousness, to explain where a thought comes from, to explain what their understanding of fundamental reality is. I'm sure they'll ignore this, and I'm sure I'll get more abusive comments from his militant colleagues, but I thought I should update you on some of the controversies that came about as a result of that debate. Thank you for watching and listening, and please post your comments and try not to be abusive. Try to expand this conversation through civil dialogue. Thank you.